Hello and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. I am the player who plays as the King Under the Mountain. And today I'm going to talk about a commander who has been shot into the meta by the devs. Is he good enough to do it? And that's kind of what we're going to talk about in this video. How good is the change to his skills? Etc, etc. What kind of equipment you might use on him if that's the case, which, spoiler alert, he is in the meta now. And kind of, which way you're going to skill him at R4 and that kind of stuff. So with that, we're going to get straight into it. So yes, Saruman has had a skill change. He is now pretty much in the top 5 commanders in the game, I would hazard a guess. There is a lot of reports flying around whereby the changes to his skills have allowed him to pretty much almost match Dane in levels of damage he can create, depending on what formation you're facing. But yeah, he's pretty strong now, and it all revolves around this Head of the White Council skill, which, by the way, is incredible. So before it was Palantir Scryer, which was kind of a little bit more of a support skill. They've kind of took some feedback and gone, right, Saruman was obviously an incredible character. He was Head of the White Council, so guess what we're going to do? We're going to give him a skill that strips the entirety of White Council, pretty much, off everyone. And gives him some OP focus damage. I mean, basically, he's now the Lord of the Rings equivalent of Palpatine with electric bolts coming out of his fingers 24/7, pretty much. So, this skill change, let's just talk it through. For the first 5 rounds, deals 150% focus damage once to 3 enemy formations, which is good, right? Then you may also think deals focus damage twice to 3 enemy formations each round, but the damage is reduced by half, which you might think, okay, that's a little bit weird. But if you think it through, from a White Council perspective, you are stripping White Council like nobody's business off comms there. And even if you are facing a Gil-galad formation, for example, you're still stripping White Council. Partly because of the amount of sort of attacks that you're putting out. At level 10, when you're dealing this damage received by 3 enemy formations is plus 5%. So everything about that kit is pretty cool, right? Now, there is debate on which one of these you would fill if you're at R4, and I'm just going to sort of take the points out and spend the 20 gems. But what I would be doing is I would go 10 points in here, and then I would go 10 points in Voice of Saruman, and I would go with my 4 points in here. Now, R5, again, great, because you'd up that skill, but we'll come on to that in a minute. So we've just filled Voice of Saruman, which is every 2 rounds, and it's 540% focus damage to 1 formation. Now, that's a lot of damage, but then if you add to that also, you've got this 50% chance to inflict madness on the target after the target receives damage. It's pretty cool, because that's a decent coin flip chance. And then you're increasing the damage further if they are maddened or stunned, which there are so many more stuns in the game now. If you are comparing him with if you're putting him in a combination with a Sauron and a Gandalf the White, the amount of stun chances that you've got, even Dane has a small stun chance, to be honest, but the amount of stun chances you've got to increase this damage is pretty nuts. His third damage skill, and also a fantastic skill, and this is where the toss-up comes to whether you actually put your 10 points in here and 4 points in that. People tend to put the 10 points in here first and the 4 points in here, just for the simple reason that I believe it's the madness and the sort of proc of that sort of extra damage. But of many colours is every 3 rounds. And it's a pretty nuts skill, so I can't max it out at the minute because I'm not R10. I would recommend you get to R10. I actually think his sweet spot is Respect 13, but there you go. So you are looking at this skill here, which when maxed out is 380% focus damage to 1 enemy unit. At level 5, which is why I'm saying you get to Respect 5 and it's pretty cool, you're adding the same amount of poison damage again once to an enemy formation. And then just for fun at Respect 10, you're adding the same again in burn damage to another formation. So you're basically just covering all the elements just for fun. If he could hit someone with some mud or something stupid, he's pretty much covered everything that you need to do. The R5 Shark is probably not likely to be played with him now, if I'm honest, or it'd be very minimal. So this is the attack and defense of orcs, Uruk-hai, and evil men units in 3 allied formations, plus 1 effect modified by command stat, which, to be honest, is still not bad. And this is what I'm trying to say about the whole Respect 13. You can still, he's got quite a decent base command. So if you are using these evil units, which you might be if you're using Saruman, if I'm being honest, there is a great chance here that you're then getting a little bit of extra attack and defense because you're modifying by a decent command, even with only 1 point in there. The rest of it's fairly irrelevant, I would say, because you want your Saruman to be slow anyway. Going into his relic, great relic, one of the best relics in the game. If we can just show you the maxed out effects, which we can. His normal attack then inflicts an extra 120% focus damage, which again is going to cut right through people's armor. This is why he's great as a focus damage dealer, and the amount of damage he puts out is because on these new tanky formations that people are building, so they're now changing Sauron to a tank, for example, it doesn't matter what armor you've got there because he's just cutting through it, so it's only really the command stat that's taking it down. Fairly easy one to get. Each refine only makes it better. And a pretty awesome, smooth, pimped out Zenith out of it, to be honest, if you want to game that high, but it's not really a necessity. As for the kind of formation that you're likely to see him in, there is the full evil formation that's knocking around at the moment that will beat the new meta formation of Gil, Gandalf the White. This is the new meta, by the way, so Gil, Gandalf the White, Dane, and Sauron in NRP. If you're running RP or NRP, he is now in that meta, by the way, just for the sake of the argument. But in the NRP, he's definitely now in the meta more than he was before. There is the full evil formation of something like, I think it was Saruman, Shadow, Sauron, and Sestaro, wherever he might be, down here, which will beat the new meta formation if you're using trolls or large units pretty consistently as well, if I'm honest. Other options in that formation is probably, if you've not got Sestaro, you could put in Skalhelm or you could put in Witch King. The only thing I'll say about Skalhelm is the unique gets very heavily countered by Gil, and a little bit of a skill set gets quite heavily countered by Gil as well, so not as much of a fan of doing it that way. I do think Witch King is a viable option in that formation as well because of the interactions between everyone. And the way sort of Saruman works and things like that. And Witch King has a lot of stuns and sort of opportunities for stun in particular, which will massively help you Saruman. What I would like to see, and I'm probably going to look down that route at some point just for fun, is I'm going to run something like a Witch King, Sauron, Saruman, and Mouth of Sauron build, wherever he may be, somewhere down here. Mouth Sauron build, just to try and take advantage of these kind of skills and get him really tanky, this Mouth Sauron, with the command stat, and see how much we can debuff this attack from the enemy. So if they are running people like a Dane and Bjorn, they've got massive debuffs for quite a long period of time on their normal attack and on their attack stat in general. While I'm obviously using focus damage pretty much exclusively with some focus troops I would put on there as well, or some burn damage troops. And I think that would be a pretty cool formation because you're debuffing them and it's not affecting you in any way using Mouth of Sauron's kit. Probably its best. Where am I at with that now? There is a skill order to Saruman as well because you want this damage to hit first. Just FYI. So you want to go like that, I think, is the one from me. Yes, he is in the meta. Yes, I would get him to respect 10 easily if I could. I'm trying to get him there at the moment. Gear-wise, you are looking at 2 damage, so either a focus damage and weapons in general, as high focus as you could probably get. So your weapon will be a damage weapon, which is focus related. Your accessory will be a focus damage related weapon, because you can have him slow, because it doesn't really matter when he hits during this combo. It doesn't necessarily matter what sort of kit you have on here, so you're just trying to maximize the most amount of focus. Would I, given the chance, probably put some kind of, at some stage or another, I might put some kind of unit defense on here just to help him out a little bit. I haven't yet because I haven't had a chance to test him out properly. Other than that, a protection set at least is taking a little bit off. As for the set effects, I will go to have a look at them now. I'm a little bit torn on the set effects because I can see some sort of goodness in both. So if we just go to this, I would personally be looking down the route of, he says, Fortitude potentially take some damage off you. This one's probably my favourite because it's obviously buffing burn, poison, and focus damage dealt. At 4-piece, it's 12%, which for him is a massive buff. Some people have told me Warcry, and the only reason why I don't think the Warcry one's going to be great, even though it's a fantastic boost to those early skills, like the new skill of Head of the White Council, it's not for me, I don't think, because you're likely to lose some of this damage to Gil-galad. So probably not that. Perseverance isn't a bad set for him, but again, White Council's only the first. The Head of the White Council's only the first 5 rounds, so you're going to lose some of that skill. But his other 2 damage skills are incredible, so adding extra damage to that is only going to help. The other ones I always like are Divide and Conquer, Evasive Action, and Fortitude, just as protection sets. But for me, mainly, it's probably going to be this Law of the Arcane one. So basically, he hits like an absolute truck. That, like I say, that early damage will strip White Council, or help you strip White Council. So if he's in a formation with a Shadow, for example, the opportunity for those two together to strip White Council is insane. You can probably almost do it by the end of round 1, depending on what else you've got in the formation. If you are looking at playing Saruman in the current state of the game, which I think you should be, and you should be getting his unique and trying to refine it as much as possible. If you are using purple gear, which is also fine, you'll still put out some decent damage. Just try and look for a damage accessory and weapon. Maximum amount of focus you can. That will sort you out in that regard. There is a little trick at the moment, and there's a few commanders that you can do this with. So on this Ascension item here, you can currently pull items out of commanders and put random items in. So the one to look for at the moment is Lurtz, who I do not have ascended. But Lurtz and a few others, if you go through the list, if they are originally ascended naturally, have 40 Saruman items in them, which you can trade a 1-to-1 value and will massively increase your Saruman, because that's 12,000 respect. Trading them at a 1-to-1 ratio, which is pretty good at the moment, to be perfectly honest. I cannot do that right now because I do not have an ascended Lurtz, so... and if I was to do it now, I'd put random items in, and if I tried to unascend it, I'd get the random item back, making it completely pointless. However, for the majority of people who have played Evil Side and perhaps haven't upped Saruman before and are looking for different options, using 40 random items in your alerts that you're never going to use from something ridiculous, I don't know, you might have some good side items even now, to be perfectly honest. I've got a bit of a mix here. I'm never likely to use these 2 here, so that's 20 items I could throw in. I'd probably throw in 20 of the Gandalf the White items, because I don't really need him any higher respect at the moment. And that would be my 40 items to get Saruman, which I'd be pretty happy with if I had an Ascended Alert. So if you do, have a look in there, but there is a few others as well. Just have a look through. And with that, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover on Saruman. He is in the new meta. I think it's really exciting that they've actually made a commander change that has changed the meta somewhat. He can put out some insane damage. Like I say, respect 13 probably at most. Stack the focus on him as best you can. His speed's pretty irrelevant, to be perfectly fair. And that's kind of that. So if in doubt, always follow your nose.